endless deserts and deep gorges. Along the old Silk Road, we travel by train through a mysterious country, Uzbekistan. The former Soviet Republic is a country offering both 1001 Nights and communist-style prefabricated homes. A country with strong women, twins in uniform, and some very special camel driving techniques. A journey from the deepest caves in the world to the remains of the Aral Sea. Tashkent, capital of the Presidential Republic of Uzbekistan, founded only in 1991. In 1966, it was the victim of a devastating earthquake. It was rebuilt in the modern Soviet style. Now massive transport routes crisscross the city. The main train station is located in the city centre. Waiting on platform 1 is the so-called Silk Road Express. Engine driver Ahmalkhudja Yuldashev checks everything once again so that the train can leave on time at 8 a.m.
Even as a child, I dreamed of becoming a train driver because my father was one. He drove old Soviet machines. The working conditions were really tough back then. Today, everything is much better and more comfortable.
The railroad is still a lifeline for Uzbekistan and its 33 million inhabitants. It takes about 20 hours to go from Tashkent across the country to the east to the former shores of the Aral Sea. The road network is poor in Uzbekistan and flying is expensive. Because of this, most people just take the train. Uzbekistan is located in the heart of Central Asia, between Afghanistan and Kazakhstan. Our journey takes us from the capital, Tashkent, towards Samarkand, along the Hisar Mountains and further to Bukhara, and across the desert to the almost dried up Aral Sea. Water is the greatest treasure of this dry country. In the 1970s, several dams were built on the slopes of the Tian Shan Mountains, which still fulfill Tashkent's water needs today. But there's not just water in these mountains. Hidden deep within them is a secret that the Soviet Union guarded for decades. In the 1940s, uranium was discovered here. For the miners, a top-secret city was built out of the ground. Today, it looks like a ghost town. One of the last inhabitants of Yanyabad is Marat Enyakeyev, who was one of the first people born here 67 years ago. Every morning he makes his rounds, First stop, the daycare.
Вот 67 лет назад, в возрасте 1 месяца, меня...
I was only 1 month old when my parents brought me to this daycare in 1954.
25 лет назад,
Now nobody is
когда
left.
случился распад Советского Союза,
When the Soviet Union collapsed and the mine was closed, there was no more work and almost everyone left.
из-за безвыходности не было работы, не было заработка.
Things are lonely in Yanyabad. The former music school, like the whole city, was built by Volga Germans. It feels like a faded European memory in the middle of Asia.
Я имел опыт обучения в этой школе 3 года на фортепиано.
When I was a child, I took piano lessons here. After 3 years, the teacher told my parents that I shouldn't come anymore because I had no chance of becoming a musician. I was incredibly happy with this statement.
Я был бесконечно рад этому событию.
5 years ago, Marat got married for the second time to his childhood sweetheart, Larissa.
What are we having today?
Cheese soup.
Will it taste good?
Of course, you know it will.
I can't remember.
There's new life in Yanyabad again. The Olympic boxing team is training here in the pleasant mountain air. Larissa and Marat have befriended young Sohiba and perhaps adopted her a bit.
Я занимаюсь боксом с 2017 года.
I started boxing in 2017 and I've been on the national team since 2019. Half of the month I'm at home and the other 2 weeks I train here.
2 раза в месяц.
And the training is hard for the Olympic team. While boxers in other countries prepare for the competition in high-tech gyms, the coach in Uzbekistan has more rustic methods in mind.
Originally, we only trained men here, but for 6 years, we've been preparing girls for competitions as well.
And the regimen is strict. Get up at 5 o'clock, then an endurance run. After breakfast, training in the hall, followed by stone lifting at the river.
I want to succeed. I hope to take part in the Olympic Games someday and win a gold medal.
The training in Yanyabad is exhausting, so it's nice to have a surrogate family like the one Sohiba has.
Greetings, my big girl.
Я не знаю, тебе должен понравиться.
Now eat a nice bowl of soup.
Конечно, скучаю.
I am very oft homesick, but my will to achieve something in boxing is simply greater.
Всё затмевает.
Нам очень приятно, что мы
It's so nice to have you because we miss our own children.
скучаем по детям.
Marat's sons, like so many others, have long since left Yanyabad. The Silk Road Express has left the mountains behind and is now moving through increasingly sparse vegetation.
The construction of the railroad began here more than 100 years ago. In Soviet times, the railway network was the highest priority, and there still is a lot of construction going on.
Thousands of years ago, caravans travelled along the banks of the Zarafshan River to the east and west. It's the lifeline of probably the most legendary city in Central Asia, Samarkand. The center of the city, Registan Square. Today, a popular spot for photos, and in the 15th century, the site of the most prestigious university in the Islamic world. Uzbekistan is considered a police state, and recently even has special police for tourists. Twins Fatima and Zuhra were actually English teachers before they joined the police. Their beat, the Registan.
To wear a uniform, it was a dream from our childhood, and opening new department, the tourist police department, we were the first who started to work here. So I thought, it's me, and I took my sisters with me.
Patrolling isn't that easy for the two of them, because the tourists want one thing above all, a photo with the twins in uniform.
The people, especially teenagers, wanted to take a picture, and mostly girls. They wanted to be like policemen like us.
This place was a hub for mathematics and astronomy in the 15th century. Shah-e-Zinda is a magical place. For 600 years, the necropolis has been hanging on the hills over Samarkand. Muezzin Abdugani calls the faithful to prayer. The large tomb lies within the twins' precinct.
Because we work in this place, historical place, and when we have a nice relationship, I may say relationship, then work will be easy. If some troubles happened with tourists, we may work together.
During Soviet times, the 11 mausoleums were left to decay, but recently they've undergone extensive restoration.
Bundan oldinlari O'zbekiston mustaqillikka erishishdan oldin
in the past, life as a devout Muslim was very difficult. There were only a few mosques in which one could pray. There was hardly any possibility to train as a muezzin. Today, there are 2,000 mosques in Uzbekistan, and new ones are still being built. Every Muslim can once again freely and openly practice their beliefs.
Muezzin Abdugani is also responsible for the care of the tombs. The most important place in the complex, the tomb of Abbas, who is said to have brought Islam to Samarkand.
For me, it is always a deep feeling of gratitude that I am given the honor of serving here. This is a holy place because Abbas, who lies here, was the Prophet's cousin.